London was wrapped in its usual gray silence that Tuesday morning. The city had always carried a certain elegance, even when dressed in clouds and drizzle, perhaps especially then. Rain softened the hard edges of the old buildings and gave the streets a quiet shimmer. Puddles formed lazy mirrors, and footsteps made little ripples in time. Elena stood at the corner of Northumberland Avenue, waiting for the number 11 bus. Her coat was a deep navy, buttoned tightly, and her hands were buried in her pockets for warmth. Strands of her brown hair clung gently to her cheeks from the dampness. She usually didn't mind the rain. London and rain were old friends, after all. But this morning she was restless. She had overslept. Again. Her alarm hadn't gone off, or maybe she'd turned it off in her sleep. Now her schedule was ruined, and she would arrive late to the office, where a mountain of editorial work awaited her. But that wasn't what truly irritated her. It was the feeling that she was missing something important, something she couldn't name. She glanced at her phone.
8:05 Uhr morgens.
No sign of the bus. The cold nipped at her cheeks as the breeze carried the rain sideways for a moment. She ducked further under the glass shelter and let out a sigh. That's when she noticed him. He was already standing there, tall, leaning casually against the metal frame of the bus stop. A wool coat, charcoal gray, hung from his broad shoulders, and a leather satchel rested by his feet. His hair was chestnut brown, a little too long, falling across his forehead in a way that seemed careless and deliberate at the same time. His face was half-shadowed by the angle of his head as he stared at the street. And then he turned. Their eyes met. She felt it, a brief tightening in her chest. Something electric, subtle, and immediate. He smiled, not wide, just a soft curve of his lips. The kind of smile that didn't beg for attention. It simply waited to be understood. "Cold morning," he said, his voice quiet, with a soft London accent that curled around his words like steam rising from tea. Elena blinked, startled slightly, but returned the smile. "Too cold for April." There was a pause. Not awkward, but charged, like the moment before a piano note is played. "I'm Liam," he said, straightening up slightly and offering his hand, gloved in black leather. "Elena," she replied, slipping her smaller, bare hand into his.
Warm.
Firm. He held her gaze as their hands touched, and for a fleeting second, she felt as though the world slowed around them. They started to talk. It began with the usual topics, the unpredictability of the weather, how London buses were never on time, the annoying drip from the edge of the shelter that kept splashing near their shoes. But soon, the conversation shifted. More personal, more real. Elena told him about her job at a small independent publishing house. She read manuscripts all day and loved books more than most people she met. Liam told her he was an architect, or at least trained as one. These days, he spent more time sketching than building. He liked capturing buildings on paper more than seeing them come to life in steel and concrete. He smiled when he talked about sketching. His fingers moved in the air like he was drawing invisible lines. Time passed unnoticed. The street began to fill with more people. Cars splashed past. A cyclist zoomed by, huddled under a bright yellow raincoat. But in that tiny glass shelter, it felt like there was only the two of them, like the rain had pushed the world away just for a while. The wind picked up. Elena shivered slightly, pulling her coat tighter around her. Without a word, Liam unwrapped the scarf around his neck, soft, gray wool, and stepped closer to gently drape it around her. She looked up at him, eyes wide. "You'll catch a cold," he murmured, almost apologetically, brushing a strand of wet hair from her cheek. She swallowed. There was something about the way he looked at her. Not like a stranger. Not even like a new acquaintance. It was a look that said, "I see you." And maybe that was what she'd been missing. Not just a bus, not just a morning routine, but being seen. Her breath caught as their eyes locked again. There was a silence between them. This one deeper than the others. Not empty, but full. Liam stepped closer, his hand, still warm from the scarf, lingered near her cheek. She didn't move, and then, as if they both knew it had to happen, he leaned in. Their lips met, gently at first. A soft brush. Rain tapped on the glass above them like a quiet rhythm. Then the kiss deepened, slow and certain, as if they had kissed 1,000 times in some other life. Elena's eyes fluttered closed. She leaned into him, her heart pounding, her hands finding his coat. The world melted into the background. The traffic, the noise, the city. IT was just them. When the bus finally arrived, they didn't notice. Or maybe they did, and simply didn't care, because in a city of millions, on a rainy London morning, something rare had happened. Two strangers had collided, not in chaos, but in perfect, quiet rhythm, and their story had only just begun.